This is Our Rough Draft, a podcast, real talk for real relationships.
Welcome to Our Rough Draft, where we share real stories from marriage, work, life, and the adventures along the way. We'll laugh, maybe get real, and hopefully help you spark some new conversations in your own life.
I'm Denise, the wild, emotional one who loves words and big ideas.
And I'm Tim. I'm the practical level one who fixes what she dreams of.
That is true. And this is Our Rough Draft, where we share the stories we're still living.
Welcome back, everybody, to Our Rough Draft. Today, we're talking about kids baseball and all the chaos that comes with kids sports.
Hi, friends. We'll cover the stress, the wins, and how sports shaped our friendships and our family life.
That's right. So, life lately.
Yeah, let me tell you what happened this week.
Go for it.
So Mason, our youngest, we have 3 boys. Mason is our youngest. He is a junior in high school. Is that right?
Yeah.
Holy months. Mason is a junior in high school, and he made the inaugural beach volleyball team. So exciting. So great. We went to the parent meeting, which was awesome. So we'll talk about parent meetings in a few minutes. It was a 15-minute parent meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And we were responsible for ordering some gear. And I missed the deadline. So that's my life lately. I've now emailed the coach. Her email bounced back. I emailed the girls' beach coach. I'm about to have to call the principal or the athletic director, somebody. I just need them to reopen the website so I can order that gear. But that's my life lately in nailing being a sports mom.
We could do a whole separate show on ordering gear for kids sports.
Right?
Like that would be an entire hour just on its own.
Yeah. What about life lately with you? Anything in the sports world that you and the boys have been sharing about or meme sharing about?
Well, I mean, the obvious is our catcher for the Seattle Mariners, Cal Raleigh, also known as the All-Star Home Run Derby champion, Cal Raleigh, also known as the MLB leader in home runs, Cal Raleigh. So that guy, we've been talking a lot about that guy.
Yeah. You mean the big dumper?
The big dumper, yes.
We love him so much.
Yeah. So that's been a source of inspiration, I think, for all of us.
Yeah. A lot of talk about that. Every time he hits a new home run, Mason yells it out in the house. So.
Yeah, indeed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So the big question for this week's episode, where we're talking about kids sports and all of that, is which one of us panicked more during Little League All-Stars? So we'll get to it. I have my answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, interesting.
Do you have any funny mishaps or ridiculous memories from any of the boys' sports that are coming to your mind right now before we kind of jump in?
Oh my gosh, I could go forever on this one too. So one that comes to mind is Mason just starting to play coach pitch baseball. So moving on from t-ball, now coach pitch. So
little
6, 7 maybe in that range.
Yeah, probably.
And of course, at that level, all the parents are helping out. And I was in, I don't know, shallow right field helping out. A little kid comes up to bat. Mason's playing first base. Kid pops up. And the kid that was at first base for the other team just starts running. And anybody that knows baseball knows you have to tag up, et cetera, et cetera. So Mason catches the ball. And I said afterward, he had an opportunity to make a second out. And I said to him, you could have thrown that to, oh no, I think he was playing second or short or something. You could have thrown that back to first and got the out. And he looks at me serious in his 6-year-old self and says, Dad, we're not ready for that yet. So had made the decision that, yes, I could have done that. However, I know that the kid wouldn't have caught the ball if I'd thrown it to him. We wouldn't have gotten the second out. So I'm just going to let it pass. So I stepped back, backed off. You don't need me to coach you. I'll just stand here and, I don't know, keep things safe. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mine is also Mason, because it's top of mind because you were talking about him. T-ball. I can picture it, Rockwell Elementary, and we were sitting on the third base side, and he got a big hit, and he was rounding third base, and I was yelling, slide. You're not allowed to slide in T-ball. He was called out. He was so mad at me. So it's a good lesson about not cheering from the stands when you are not in charge.
Yeah, just being that participant, just cheering your own kid on, but not trying to do too much.
Yeah. So baseball has been a giant part of our lives for a really long time. We really want to get into that a little bit today. So, big picture, kids' sports bring stress, joy, and connection, and sometimes complete and total chaos. Um, we have coached, we have fanned, we have been, what did that all-star guy call me? Carrier?
Yeah, a courier.
Courier.
Yeah, courier.
Yeah, so we can talk about that
Oh.
because that was horrible. Wives, girlfriends, or couriers were not allowed to turn in the all-star paperwork, even though I did turn in the all-star paperwork years in a row and nailed it. But there's a lot of misogyny and patriarchy in kids' baseball.
Yes, agreed.
Mhm. So, what's coming up for you when we talked about wanting to do this episode? The first thing that comes up to me is our friendships around baseball and how we have built our life around the baseball field. Can you tell the story of your budding friendship with Coach Gibson?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I mean, so this, for those that don't know, this person, John Gibson, is one of the people that we admire most in kids sports. Always had the kids' best interests at heart, always tried to balance the need for them to become just great people, not just great athletes. So I think there's a million different reasons why, but had coached a different team than the one that we were playing on at the time that we met in Little League. And we just remember thinking, that's the person I want coaching my kid. That's the person that has it all in perspective. That's the person that's not trying to make my kid, an MLB player at age 10. This is the person that really just wants the best for the kids. And, as luck would have it, then wound up coaching the all-star team for that particular group of kids. And that's how we became friends and have remained friends even long after our kids played sports together. And just, I think, jive as people more than as, coach and athlete parent.
Yeah. So talk about the time where you thought he was going to unfriend you. You don't remember?
No.
Okay. So let's set the scene. All Stars.
Oh, I know what you're saying.
All Stars is hard. So we were fortunate. We had somebody like John Gibson in our son's life, but we also have had other great coaches along the way that are our type of people. Care about the kid, know they're not going to go pro in sports, but if they did, great. Teach them the fundamentals, do all the things, but really, like, who are you as a human? And that matters more. We also had the type of coaches that would say things like that and then absolutely act the opposite. Bullied 10-year-olds, bullied 11-year-olds, played head games with parents, played head games with kids, pitted people against each other. Like, you see it all in Little League, and it's crazy. And there was one time that, don't be shocked, I lost my mind a little bit about something that was going on in All Stars. And that I think everybody's used to, right? Denise loses her mind a little bit when it comes to sports or whatever. But you lost your mind a little bit.
I did.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact situation that involved our kid, but I think it also involved other kids on the team. And I think that this was one of those situations where the coach was playing it for himself versus for the kids. And it was an all-star game, and it was important for sure. And it was important to us as parents and fans, and important to the kids, that were playing the game, but just completely and totally disagreed with the decision the coach made, which shouldn't be shocking either, because anybody who's been involved in kids sports knows that there's multiple opportunities for you to disagree with what the coach is doing. I'm not talking about saying my kid should play X position. I'm talking about a situation where it just was slimy and not the right way to play the game. And I think did involve our kid, but not for the reasons that I think most people would think. And so afterward, I did lose my mind a little bit. I had to go out to center field and just watch from out there because I was really, really agitated. went up to the coach afterward, and I don't think I yelled, but I certainly raised my voice to the head coach of the team and kind of got in his face a little bit. Nothing physical, nothing like even approaching, anything. But for me, I think was maybe a little bit unexpected.
Super out of character for you.
And John happened to be a coach on that team as well, and so I was kind of talking to both of them. However, it was mostly directed at the head coach, and I thought that was the moment where I will never hear from this person again. I will never hear from John Gibson again. We will never be friends. Like
We've been blackballed.
Somehow,
Yeah.
like I've done it, and obviously didn't turn out to be the case because here many years later we're still great friends.
Yeah, but it's those types of moments that you worry, right? Like you're so invested and you want to be heard and you want to raise your kids a certain way. And so you want them to be around the type of people who are going to do it the right way.
Right. And again, this had nothing to do with like playing time. It had nothing to do with what position you put my kid in. It had everything to do with what lesson are you teaching these kids right now? Not just about baseball, but about life. And you're destroying everything that we've worked for as parents. Like it was that bad.
Fortunately, our kid recognized it. Yep. And so what was most important, I think, in that moment is that our kid felt supported by us, that he saw something not right and we went to bat for him, literally. That was great. Here's another example that comes up for me is the game against Woodinville. I think about moral high ground and how that plays out. And so I'll share that we were Redmond West Little League, proud Redmond West people, and we were playing Woodinville Little League, foreshadowing. Our youngest son became a Woodinville All-Star later when we had moved to Woodinville. And I think
serves us right.
His older brother had a really hard time putting on that Woodinville All-Star shirt. But we were playing up on the plateau, and it was Woodinville v. Redmond West, and it was a all-star game. I don't know. They were probably 11, so it probably didn't really matter, but they were playing. And it came down to one of our runners was scoring at home, and the ball came home to the catcher. And we were sitting right behind the plate, and you can watch as the Woodinville catcher dropped the ball, picked the ball back up, and then showed it like he had held on to it the whole time. We all saw that the kid was safe. Woodinville dropped the ball. We win. Game over. Umpire saw it differently. And rather than sticking to their guns, the umpire asked the Woodinville catcher, the 11-year-old Woodinville catcher, did you drop the ball? And we sat there and watched this poor little kid lie.
Yeah.
It's horribly tragic. Not just from losing, but the fact that they put an 11-year-old in a position where he felt like he had to lie.
Yeah.
Like, what else are you going to say? I dropped the ball?
That's the worst part about it. Yeah. Putting that kid in that position, it's an important game. He made a mistake. He knows he made a mistake. He doesn't want to admit he made a mistake. Like, there's no reason the ump should have asked that kid.
No, it was horrible.
But I think that goes back to, and we can go further on this, but I think that goes back to adults in kids sports. I think we've talked before about the primary issue with kids sports is the adults. Absolutely. It doesn't have anything to do with the kids. It has everything to do with the adults, the coaches, the league commissioners, you name it. There's any number of examples of where adults are the problem, taking it way too far, way too seriously, and just making it not good.
Yeah. And yet we still put our kids in sports and ask them to play because that team aspect of being with your people is important.
Well, and I think you have to, unfortunately, it's just like anything else, but I think you have to go through some maybe not so great moments in order to find the great moments. And I think that you mentioned our son now plays volleyball, but forever played baseball. That's what our kids have done, have been baseball kids. And so for him to transition from baseball to volleyball wasn't just about the sport. It was about being around the right kind of people on the team. It was about being in a more supportive environment, an environment that was much better for his mental health, much better for his confidence, and gave him what he wasn't getting at that point in his baseball career. He had gotten that earlier and in different ways, but wasn't at the time, and made the courageous choice to kind of self-select out.
Yeah, I remember it was before any of our kids were in high school. And I went with one of my friends to her son's high school game. And I was sitting in the stands and I noticed that the people in the stands only cheered for their player. And I came home and I was like, what is that about?
Yeah. It's really disappointing.
It is. And then you see it, right? And then we were a part of it in high school. And that team camaraderie that we had, sometimes jaded in Little League, but as they got older, it really became about, my kid going to make it?
Yeah.
And is my kid getting enough? And your kid is probably taking away from my kid.
Mhm.
So now we can't be friends. We can't connect. We can't be in this together. And I can't ever cheer for your kid because it might mean that I think of mine less.
And that was really shocking to me. And that
Mhm.
only happened recently because when our oldest was in high school playing ball, I didn't feel quite the same. Maybe I just didn't see it, but I saw it so clearly this last round of high school baseball. It just was, it's very much about my kid needs to go D1. And if my kid, has to compete with your kid in any form or fashion, then my kid maybe loses their chance to go D1. And very, very individual and just not good.
Yeah.
Not healthy for anybody.
Yeah. And I think it exists in all of the things, right? Dance, swimming, team sports, individual sports, whatever that is. I think it becomes this idea of, where do we think this might take us? And are you helping me get there, or are you in the way?
Mhm.
And that's really, I think, how society is kind of right now, which makes me a little sad.
Yeah.
Versus our experience right now at volleyball, where I have like every player's mom in my phone because somebody has texted me and said, hey, there's this thing going on over here, or your kid's here right now. And just such a better feeling of togetherness. But how many D1 beach volleyball teams are there in the nation?
Was it 11?
No, 0. There's 11 total teams in college, but no D1.
Wow.
So you take the competition out, right? Nobody's competing to go D1, and you can be more collaborative, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Super interesting to me.
Yeah.
You could do some research on that.
You could.
I'm not going to. I have my own research to do. Not doing that.
I'm probably not doing it either.
Okay. But if you want to do it out there in the world, we will support you and we will answer your surveys or whatever else you want to do in that way.
Indeed.
I will bring up a little bit of research. Pippa Grange was one of our favorite authors who wrote the book Fearless. She is a sports psychologist, and she really writes about courage under pressure and how showing up for our kids in sports is really important. So I know that we talk about it's different than when we were kids, right? We would just like get ourselves to practice. However, right, ride your bike, go wherever. And now there's like bento boxes for the 6-year-olds at their little league practice, right? Like, it is, the pendulum has swung, but there is an element.
Everybody loves a good bento box.
For
so
sure.
don't
I just call it my snack bag.
Yeah.
But I think that there's real research and real evidence there that we are helping our kids grapple with the world when they are trying on things that are new for them, and that we're there for them. And they might be nervous, but we're kind of there pushing them along, helping them. Models that bravery and resilience that we want for them in life.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think it's one thing to tell your kid that they can do anything, but then when you model that and when you give them the confidence to do whatever they can, doesn't have to be the biggest hit, the best pitch,
Right.
but giving them that confidence that you can do this and you can have fun and be successful at this, I think that goes a long way, because it's not just a baseball lesson. It's not just a volleyball lesson. It's a life lesson.
Yeah. So let's stay there for a minute. Let's come up with or remember kind of a favorite sports moment for each of the kids.
Gosh.
I know it's pretty fun to think about because there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you asking from the kids' point of view or from our point of view?
Our point of view.
No. So with Thatcher, I think it was.
I mean, you can answer either if you think you know.
Well, I've got an example. So
Okay.
our oldest, when he was, I can't even remember how young he was, 11, 12 maybe. I think we were practicing at one of the fields, and I remember he's a righty, normally hit right, but he switched to the left side of the plate as I was pitching, and I just remember saying to him, "What are you doing? You can't hit left." And he just smiled and kind of laughed, and I pitched, and he hit a line drive that came back and hit me in the ankle and dropped me to the ground because it hurt so bad. And if I recall at the time, I think he was a little bit like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," but I think he was mostly gloating. It was like 10% sorry and like 90% gloating
Yeah.
about the fact that you told me I couldn't do this and I went and did
Yeah.
it. And not only did I do it, but I got you.
Yeah.
And I just laid on the ground laughing because it was just, it's karma coming back, and it was just so funny. So that's one of my favorite moments.
That's awesome. For Thatch, for me, one of my favorite moments was his home run at Big Hartman. Thatcher was a daily grinded out kind of kid. He wore number 19 for Tony Gwynn. Base hits were what Thatcher did. He could bunt. He could do anything to get on base. He would walk. He would do all the things, but he was not a power hitter. And he had done BP with a friend's dad and had practiced. And he went to this game and he hit a home run. And it was so awesome. And he was so excited. And we went over and we got the home run ball for him and gave it to him. And it was so exciting. And then like the people in his life at that time and how they reacted to it was even better, because he had his really good friend at that point was a couple of really good friends were softball players, and they got to the game and were like, Thatcher hit a home run. And they were like, what?
Like over the fence home run?
Like, that's how home runs work. They assumed he was fast enough that he just ran it. I'm like, no, over the fence. And they were so excited for him. But that was such a fun thing because it was the community was so excited for him.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about Cooper, one of my favorite Cooper sports is when he was riding his bike. And every Wednesday, I would drive him to like so far, Tim.
So far away. Yeah.
DuPont?
No, not that far.
I think it was DuPont, Tim. It was like an hour and a half. Is that DuPont?
No.
Okay. Well, it was like an hour and a half.
You keep thinking it was DuPont. It wasn't, but it was very far. I mean, yeah.
Puyallup? Okay.
Anyway.
I don't know.
We don't have this much time for you to try and figure it out.
All right. I would pick him up from school and I would drive him to this car racetrack.
Pacific
Raceways. Google that. It's in DuPont.
It is not in DuPont, I'm telling you.
Okay.
Anyway,
I would drive him and I would have the Wi-Fi in the car so I could go and I could work, and he would ride his bike. And he was one of maybe 4 juniors that was there at the most on any given night. And 1 junior who was really, really good. And then 3 who were just learning to ride competitively. And that dude would get on his bike and he would learn, and he would figure out how to be a part of the peloton. He would figure out how to stay with the pack, and he just would learn. But his little legs could not keep up with those adults that were doing that. And there was this one guy who wore a jersey that had like bee stuff on it. It looked like a hive.
Yeah.
He was just a cool dude.
I think it was a honey stinger jersey.
Yeah. And he would ride with Cooper. And they would fall out the back of the pack and they would ride and they would finish their laps and, high fives afterwards. And it was just such a cool sport to be a part of in that regard. I just had a ton of fun watching him like try something so outside of his comfort zone and just stick with it and never give up. So that was mine for Coop.
Mine was the cyclocross race in Bellingham. And we got up, I don't know. So it was just Cooper, Mason, and I got up at crack of dawn, before the crack of dawn, to make the drive up there to get there for this race. Because of course the races never start at like normal times. It's, 7:30 in the morning, we're going to do this. And the ground was still frosty and it was cold and everybody was trying to keep warm, and the sun finally came out. But my favorite memory of that was, if you don't know cyclocross, it's a very just funky environment in the US. I think in Europe, they take it much more seriously than we do. It's a
really?
very it's a very serious thing, I think, over there, at least the videos that I've seen
Oh, we'll have to go watch.
at the very competitive level. But here in the US, at our level, it's like a party broke out and people decided to ride their bikes. So you are
Like a total
riding. Yeah, it's like a rave with bikes, and there's music and there's laughter and everybody's just having a great time. And so, you ride these laps and it's off road for the most part, but you're riding what looks like a road bike. It's just a very cool sport. So if you haven't seen it before, look it up because it's cool. And I remember in that race, Cooper came back. So there was, as you passed the start finish line doing your laps, there were people handing out donut holes on skewers. And as you rode by, the challenge was to grab a skewer of donut holes and eat them while you're racing your bike. And then Cooper came by at one point and told me that there was somebody up kind of at the top of the lap that was handing out beer. And as he comes around the corner, and there's a guy holding out a beer and looks and sees Cooper, who was very, very young at the time, and is like, and pulls the beer back. But that's the kind of environment that it was, handing out donut holes, handing out beer. And I think what it showed me was like even kids sports or sports in general don't have to take themselves so seriously. Like you can actually do this thing, be super competitive at it, but yet still just have a great time. So that was, I think, and Cooper still remembers that story, and it's one of his favorite cyclocross races and had a great time. So that's my favorite Cooper memory.
That's awesome. And mine with Mason right now is him learning something new. He has been a baseball kid since he could walk. He is a switch hitter, mostly lefty. He's been batting that way since he could. The brothers made sure he was left-hand hitter, all of the things. And he started volleyball this year. And I could watch him play indoor and I could see him thinking about what he was supposed to do next because he's learning a new game. And it's cool that he has the ability to move his body the way his mind wants it to go. And so now, like a few months into it, he gets it. And to watch him go from that to now not thinking and reacting is really exciting. And he came home from beach practice the other night. He goes, "So I think coach thinks I'm pretty good." I'm like, yes, my dude, she does. So that was pretty cool. Do you have a Mason story? 2 Out Larry story?
No, 2 Out Larry's, I mean, the classic Mason story. So before he could play, he was the sideline cheerleading kid that
Ball boy, all the things.
ball boy. I was just wanted to be involved in some form or fashion. And so we would always say 2 out rally. So let's not let 2 outs get us down. Let's rally, let's get hits, let's score. Mason, when he was so young, could not say 2 out rally. It sounded like 2 out Larry. And so he became 2 out Larry. We got him a shirt that said 2 out Larry on the back. He was always known to the parents as 2 out Larry. The coaches knew him as 2 out Larry. So, and I think we still have that tiny little t-shirt somewhere that will never be given up because it's just such a classic Mason moment.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So we kind of went over our question segment in sharing about the kids this episode. So that gets us to our mini moment. Do you have a victory that you felt as a sports parent?
As a sports parent, maybe, I'm sure I do, but I think as a sports coach, I remember in particular the team, I think we always alternated back and forth, little soccer team coaching. So you would do it one year, I would do it the next year. And I think it was my turn to do it. And it was everything that you think about little kid soccer, kids running toward the ball. I mean, very few like actual plays. It was just a matter of who happened to be lucky. But I think that was a little victory in the fact that there were some kids on that team that maybe weren't that good. And I think there's some kids on that team that struggled just being kids. And not to toot our own horn, but I think we did a very good job of integrating them into the team and not letting the rest of the team feel down about their participation. So I think that was, maybe that's not even a little victory, maybe that's a big victory, but that I think that was me doing the right thing for kids versus the right thing for sport. And I think that was the important difference.
Yeah, I think that was really good. We had some of those kids came back and played the next year. That was always a good
It's a good sign that you did the right thing.
Yeah. For me, I think the little victory is being open to meeting my friends at the sports field, in that we were there for our kids for sure. But it is also where my relationships grew. Being able to figure out who those people were that got it the same way I did, engage with everybody, but then like find your people that you could go through the adventure with.
Yeah.
That made a big difference. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we did that. And I love that we still go to some of the baseball sister games, as Kai is coaching now. So that's really fun to be able to see her do that.
Yep.
But yeah, I found my best friends at baseball, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, that is a big deal.
Okay. One thing we learned about being sports parents is that it isn't so serious, and that we don't have to take it so seriously, and not every kid is going to play in the major leagues.
I also think we learned something about integrity. And I think that was probably the thing that set me off in that example that we talked about earlier. I think we learned a lot about you have to have integrity. You have to have the right motivation. And if you don't, it's not good for the kids as players. It's not good for the parents, the fans. You're teaching them lessons at that age. And I think one of the most important ones that you can teach them is to have integrity.
That's really good. And that reminds me of when we were talking about Ted Lasso in a different episode, and how that theme comes through.
Yeah, that's right.
So it isn't just for a good time. It's also really good character building.
Yeah, agreed.
And not just character, like you're the character in the show, but like character, what your values are. Sorry, nerd moment. Sorry. Okay. Key takeaways.
About kids' sports. Kids' sports are chaotic, stressful, expensive. We didn't even touch on the expense and how we could be super rich at this point, potentially, if we didn't have kids and didn't
Yeah.
have sports. But I think beneficial for so many different reasons. You teach them how to socialize, you teach them how to work together, you teach them how to have integrity, have respect, how to be inclusive. I think there's so many different lessons that you can teach. And sometimes you have to teach those as the parent and not as the coach, because it may not come from the coach, but
Right.
it's still an opportunity for those lessons to be learned. And I just think it's valuable. Again, no illusions that your kids will play D1 sports, that they'll turn professional. Some will, but it still is such a valuable thing for your kids to do if they're interested.
Side note.
Yeah.
Something really cool did happen this week. And Carson Bruner made the 53-man roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes.
He was one of those kids that played baseball with our Thatcher. And what an incredible family. What an incredible kid. Sure, he's really good at football, but I could not be happier for him because of the human that he is.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, that's a big ding.
Just great people.
Yeah, really happy for him. Okay, so your listener challenge this week to connect with your partner or somebody in your life, maybe even connect with a coach. Share a funny or stressful sports memory that's in your family for this week.
Yeah. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember that even the wildest game can have a silver lining.
Awesome. We will see you next week for more stories, more lessons, and more laughs.